Good morning, afternoon, and evening, wherever you are, and welcome to another Nerd Tube Highly Illogical podcast. Today, I am joined by my Trekkies in arms. First, we'll start down below with Jefferson. How you doing, Big Daddy J?
Doing good, thank you.
And next to him is the infamous Mirror Mage. How you doing?
Doing terrible.
Which means good in Mirror Universe.
Exactly. Doing great. Excited to talk about moral conundrums.
And then above him is some mystery person that just kind of wandered in. I have no idea who this person is, but why don't you introduce yourself?
Hear me now. My name is Rasta Zam. Wagwan, my youths. No, I'm just Zam. I'm just wearing a wig today. I can't keep up that pretense forever. So yeah, just enjoy me with my new hairdo.
All right. So today, and actually, V-Man will be joining us. Vance Major will be joining us here in a little bit, but he is running a little bit behind. But this is actually his topic that he brought up as an idea of a topic, and I love it because I love Deep Space Nine, as you can see. And it is the topic is basically, was the Alpha Quadrant Alliance, more specifically the Federation, right in what they like? Were they the good guys or the bad guys during the Dominion War? So kind of the basis of this is we played really dirty in the Dominion War. And, I mean, as it said in Interlude to Axanar, when you push the pink skins to the thin ice, that's when they get more ferocious. And this is a solid case of that, because not only did you have V-Man's here, I'll bring him in. Not only did you have Cisco playing dirty, you also had Section 31 playing dirty. You also had everybody turning a blind eye to the shit that Section 31 was doing. There was so much wrongdoing going on top of that, and V-Man can get into it a little bit more detail. But he's got some really strong thoughts about this, and I actually kind of agree with him on a lot of this. So you want to take it from here, V-Man, and
yeah, I feel put on the spot. I just got here.
I can keep going until you get your bearings. I mean, that's fine.
No, the whole thing about it was, from my stance on the whole Dominion War is, yeah. Give me some. You delve into it. I'll jump in. I'm.
That's fine. No, that's fine. So with the Dominion, I mean, they mined the wormhole, which, I'm sorry, like technically Bajor. Yeah. As I say, Bajor was not Federation space, So
well, here's the thing. Like, you and I were talking the other day. Like, it's one thing when they were exploring, seasons 1, seasons 2 of DS9, and then you get to where the Jem'Hadar captured Cisco and Quark. But at the end of that episode, like, they tell them flat out, they're like, stop coming into the wormhole. At that point, we then become the aggressor, because Starfleet then kind of says, fuck off. We're gonna do that. From that point on, we're the aggressor. We constantly are going into the Gamma Quadrant. We're constantly invading their space. We're the invaders. Now, you could make the argument that the founders, would have had spies all over the place, but at that point in time, we didn't know if the founders had people everywhere, whatnot. But we're the invaders. And so you go, a couple of years into the Dominion War, and then, we're poisoning their people, everything like that. We, bomb the Romulan senator's ship just to bring them into the war. We are morally wrong on this whole front, from not taking the stance of respecting people's boundaries to bringing the Romulans into the war. The entire front, Cisco's wrong. As much as I love Cisco, he's morally wrong on so many fronts. We were the aggressors in that. I mean, it gave us some wonderful fights, but we're morally wrong.
Yeah. I 100% agree, actually. The more I think about it, because also think about it, when the Dominion started coming through the wormhole, they were invited by the Cardassians, right? Like, I mean, and the Bajoran wormhole is not Federation territory. It is not Federation property. And I mean, if you want the Bajorans to sit there and say, well, we don't want you coming through the wormhole, is Bajor going to stop them? Is the Federation going to stand up with Bajor and say, yes, we do not want you coming through this wormhole anymore? The Bajorans have said so. It's technically their wormhole, which I don't think do they really have a claim on the wormhole? Like, it's kind of.
Here's the thing. We side with the Federation because we like the Federation. We like Star Trek, and so of course we side with them as the good guys. But look at it just from a territorial dispute. We say the Dominion's wrong because they're invading our space now. But go back 2 years, we invaded their space. So just looking at it from that perspective, who's now wrong? We invade their space, they're wrong. They invade our space, they're wrong. When are they right? At what point do they become right? Because it's the same thing and they're painted wrong. The only reason why the Federation is correct is because, they're humans, or largely humans, and we just happen to like them. So again, we then go to such desperation to where we go talk to Garrick, who we know is so devious on so many fronts, that we don't trust him. And we say this on so many levels and so many fronts, but hey, let's create this program, and to lie to the Romulans. So we instantly go into this situation knowing we're going to lie and mislead these people to, just so happens to blow up the ship, which is a result of this deceivious plan that we had to begin with. So the fact that they were blown up is irrelevant and immaterial. And then it brings the Romulans into the war. Hi, Noah. It's irrelevant, the fact that the ship blew up. It's the fact that we went into this plan knowing that we were going to be deceiving these people. So it doesn't matter what how we got there. It's the fact that we were deceiving these people on top of already being the instigators of this war.
Okay. Zam, hold the phone, man. I was getting to the comments here in a second. Okay, so a couple of the comments here, now that we've kind of got the explainer out of the way. Rick B says it's on late in the UK. I have to be up early, and so he's crying. So sorry, Rick B, you can't be here to defend your people, in other words, the people that are in the wrong. That's what I mean by that, Rick B. The TLD says Cisco admitted he was wrong for everything he did. Just because he admits that it's wrong does not make it right or even okay. TLD also says hello, and Ginger says LOL because Ginger is a nerd. All right. Anyway, so let's kind of go around a little bit. Zam, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on all of this?
Well, I've found out regarding watching DS9 is that there's no real good guys when it comes to war. Eventually, you end up doing the wrong thing to get the right thing concluded. What you think is the right thing. We saw that with Cisco when he realized that he was the bad guy regarding the Marquis, and he played that role because he wanted to get that particular Marquis guy, the guy from Krull, in handcuffs. And it's not just in Star Trek as well. You could look at other media as well and how things were portrayed in Star Wars when you saw stuff like Rogue One and how they had to do devious things as well. War makes you do bad things, and even if you are in the right, you think you're doing stuff for the right reasons, you will end up always doing something wrong at some particular point, and innocent people will be caught in the crossfire, and that's pretty much how I see it.
All right, Mage, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think the TLD is onto something when he says that Cisco admitted he was wrong for everything he did. That's, kind of the whole point of the pale moonlight. But I see V-Man's point of he would never need to do these terrible things that there is no justification for had they not aggressed on the Gamma Quadrant over and over again, just keeping on going through the wormhole after the Jem'Hadar kind of made the Dominion's presence known to Cisco and Quark.
Yeah, but also, as I said, I think they were invited into the Alpha Quadrant by the Cardassians after the Klingon incident, like after the Klingon Cardassian conflict. I think that's when the Cardassians started inviting the Dominion in to assist them, because once the Dominion was made known, then the Dominion helped the Cardassians basically wipe Klingons out of their territory. Go ahead, V man. Sorry.
So here's a question to all of you. I mean, I know Jefferson still has to get to his opinion on everything, but here's a question for everybody after that. Was he morally right given the situation? Because I know we all probably would have done the same thing given the circumstances. I mean, you have to survive. I mean, survival is paramount for the situation we're in. I mean, someone breaks into your house and life or death, you have no choice but to take them out. You know, if it's your kids or burglar, you're going to take that burglar out. But was he morally right given the fact that the Federation was taking such a low road on almost every front? Jefferson, say what you're going to say on everything, but then let's answer that question. Was he morally right to drag the Romulans into this situation of everything?
I will start at the end by answering that question and saying that given the situation that they got themselves put into, that he was morally right. Now, let me go all the way back and build the foundation. Starfleet, up until the Battle of Wolf 359, had become very complacent. They weren't really that militarized. There were no big threats to their territory or to the that part of the quadrant. When Wolf 359 happened, they threw ships in there that had no business being in that battle. So you had that happen, and then from Wolf 359 to the start of the Dominion War is about 6 years in between. So during that time, there was plenty of incentive to start building up their force to prepare for conflict. Now, when Starfleet got the warning to stop going into the Gamma Quadrant, the way that I recall it, and I could be a little wrong, and I know Starfleet has this bad habit of, well, we're going to explore wherever we want to because we seek to understand and to da-da-da-da-da. That's how they got themselves in trouble with the Romulans and the Romulan War in the mid 22nd century, the conflict with the Klingons. So Starfleet is certainly no stranger to getting themselves into hot water with their expansionism in the name of exploration and science. What happened was the Dominion influenced the Tal Shiar and the Obsidian Order to join forces and go after the Founders' homeworld, and they were set up. And the Tal Shiar and Obsidian Order were all but wiped out in that confrontation. So what happened was now you've got a weakened Cardassian Union, and the way that they expand their territory is always through force, always subjugation. So they're always constantly having to be at red alert, be on guard to use their military to suppress the people that they subjugate. So they're constantly in a state of fighting, and they're in this guerrilla war with the Maquis. So their losses to the invasion in the Gamma Quadrant and the continuing fight with the Maquis made them desperate. And then you have the founder who's in the Klingon Empire, who took the form of Martok, influencing the Klingons to go after the Cardassians. So now you have the Cardassians who are reeling from the fight with the Maquis and all the losses from the Gamma Quadrant, now getting into a conflict with the Klingons. And Starfleet gets themselves on the bad side of the Klingons and all of that. So now there's a war between the Klingons and Starfleet. What that sets the stage for is a weakening of Starfleet weakening of the Klingons, the Romulans, the Cardassians. So the Cardassians get, I cannot think of the word I want to use here, but the Cardassians get influenced into seeking the help of the Dominion. And that is because of the confrontations with the Klingons and the Maquis. The Cardassians are getting their asses kicked.
I gotta go, guys. I gotta grab my numbers. I'll see you guys later.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see you. So now you've got, like we said before, the wormhole is not in Federation space. They don't own it. It's not theirs. So the Dominion forces can certainly come through, and they did. They were coming through en masse to go to Cardassia because they were invited. So the situation that we have is the the Dominion are able to get a foothold into the Alpha Quadrant because of the Cardassians, and the Federation has to now that stage is set to where you have the increasing hostility. Now you mine the wormhole. You've got the Cardassians coming to take back Bajor. Federation can't really step in because Bajor is not a member of the Federation, so everything gets really dicey, and there's a lot of shades of gray that start right away. And the thing about war is it's dirty. It's not fair. You can't always make it clean. It is not line up on the field like the American Revolution, and one side shoots. Okay, you guys are done. We'll shoot. Okay, now it's your turn to shoot. It's not like that. The Federation was going to lose the Dominion War. I will just go right out and say that war was lost. They were not going to win that. It was only because they had that virus against the founders, and Odo was able to convince the female shapeshifter to basically in the war turn herself in to get the cure for the morphogenic plague. If that had not happened, if Section 31 didn't do that, if that didn't happen, what was the upside? So what was the upside to not getting the Romulans into the war? What was the upside to not coming up with the atom bomb, as it were? We'll take it back to World War II. And I apologize if this comparison isn't really as much of a comparison as I think, but Japan was never going to surrender. They were going to fight to the last person. Same with the Jem'Hadar. You were going to suffer losses on a scale unimaginable to win that war. Only after dropping the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki did we get that surrender from Japan. Otherwise, it would have been freaking ugly to try to win that war. Same thing with the Dominion War. It was going to be ugly. And that's just trying to maintain in the Alpha Quadrant. And that is because you got an assist from the Prophets. If there were to ever be any amount of reinforcements come through the wormhole for the Dominion side, well, they got to a point where they didn't really need it. They had shipbuilding going on in the Alpha Quadrant. So
they had massive shipyards in the Alpha Quadrant.
Yeah.
Cardassian space.
Yeah. So that the Federation was not going to, the Alliance was not going to win that war.
Yeah, they were. No, I don't disagree with you on the fact that the Federation would have lost no matter what. I'm not even saying that I wouldn't do what Cisco did or what even Section 31 did, but where do you draw the line between, and this actually is another more like, I do like your World War II comparison because I was thinking that in my head. Well, in World War II, we were dropping atom bombs, but where do you draw the line at civilian casualties and biological warfare? Because basically us dropping atom bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and then using biological weapons on the founders, where do you draw the line? Because if you're saying then, well, that's okay. Now, I'm not saying okay, nothing is okay in war like this, but if you're saying, well, that is acceptable, like, you know, in war, all morals, all hands off, like, you know, like, because technically in that, you know, when you drop an atom bomb, when you use biological warfare, you're kind of doing the same thing. You're just killing everything. You know what I mean? Like, you are killing all the founders with that disease. You know, like, and let's merge these two instances together. Let's say we released a biological weapon on those Japanese cities rather than an atom bomb. That biological weapon would have killed men, women, children, dogs, cats living together, mass hysteria. You know, like, it would have. So I do agree with you. I don't think we're trying to argue the point of whether it's right or not. We're trying to figure out, like, we kind of paint the Federation as this, you know, defending itself, but I don't necessarily think they were defending themselves. I think it was a war, and they were trying to prevent the Dominion from getting a strong foothold in the Alpha Quadrant.
Well, the fact of the matter is like, even today, we in our, you know, here in the 20th, 21st centuries, we've acknowledged that there are some lines you don't cross in war. The Geneva Conventions exist, and there would surely be an equivalency at the time of the Dominion War. So, I mean, Starfleet, you know, Section 31 knew what it was doing was dirty and beyond the pale.
Mm-hmm.
And,
do you think the Dominion had rules?
They didn't. I'm sure the Dominion had biological weapons. I'm pretty sure the Dominion could have developed biological weapons. I mean, all they had to do was, but the thing is that Section 31 was smart, and they hit them in the founders. And that's the thing, is that they hit the founders and everything stops.
They went for the brain instead of cutting off the arms or the legs.
Yeah.
They just killed the heart.
Like, I feel like and as I said, I'm not saying like it's morally just or anything, but I feel like if the Dominion were to use biological weapons, they would just hit, like, I don't think they would bombard planets with biological weapons. I think they would hit, like, Starfleet ships, Starfleet star bases. I feel like that they would do. I honestly feel like the Dominion would possibly, at least the Jem'Hadar. I feel like the Jem'Hadar would want to be more on. We saw in the one episode where the Jem'Hadar were like, "We're going to let you go, you know, because we're going to die on our own terms." You know, like in the one episode, I think it was when Miles and Bashir was stuck on the planet, and, you know, and the Jem'Hadar was fighting back. I think it was the Alphas versus the Gammas or something. I'm trying to remember, but the Jem'Hadar have shown to be quite honorable.
Well, but they're engineered to serve the founders.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another point that we need to make, is the opinion of the founders is that the loss of 1 million Jem'Hadar soldiers to save one founder is a bargain. They do not care about the lives of solids at all. The entire creation of the Dominion, the reason it's there, was as a way to protect the founders from solids. So whether it's a man, woman, or child, they don't give a shit. That's a solid, and they will wipe out the entire population, just like they did when they ordered the bombardment of Cardassia. So that right there tells you that whatever, even if they are not going to win a battle, they will do whatever they can to make your life miserable, even for that. So that just shows you right there, you're not dealing with, you're not on a playing field where you can afford to play by any rules or to play fair.
All right, I'm gonna hit a few comments really quick, and then I've got a rebuttal to that.
Okay.
Mark Lawrence, I believe he is on No Budget Productions, says hello from YouTube land. The TLD says that's why DS9 is the best. It explores all about the bad about real life and war, which is true. Ginger Greek says about 50 Shades of Gray, talking about our, you know, being really gray, you know, gray area. Josh Irwin, welcome from Avalon Universe. He says the Dominion wanted to eradicate Earth's population, so it could be argued it's us versus them, and you are 100% correct. He also says the Dominion used the quickening, which was a biological weapon. When did they? Oh, I guess they did use that. And it was only in one episode though, right? Like, but yeah. And then Josh also ordered the aborted attack by the Tal Shiar and the Obsidian Order provided a direct attack on the Founders wouldn't work. Oh, proved that a direct attack on the Founders wouldn't work, and that is 100% true. But my other thing, and now I kind of lost my rebuttal a little bit.
Well, whilst you remember your rebuttal, I just want to say, like I mean, I think one of the reasons why people like Cisco is that he's more of that lurker style of captain to a degree. I mean, he's nowhere near as bad as lurker, but he kind of he has some sort of similar characteristics, and to get the Romulans involved when they didn't need to be, but he needed to do.
No, they needed to be.
Well, I personally think he wanted them to get involved because he knew how powerful the Romulans are when it comes to them being a warmongering force. They're not to be fucked with, you know, and they're very technologically advanced as well with their oh god, what is the term? The Klingons have it as well. With their cloaking and stuff like that, they were absolutely ideal, and he wrote them in. And it's kind of sinister, but once again, it's war, and this is what you have to do. It is a game of chess as well, and it's funny as well because you see who the alliance is being made with people you wouldn't align with, and you know, people are like constantly during this whole conflict, people were swapping sides. It was a genius move by a person who was at one particular point who lost, in my opinion, his kind of moralistic core because it was war.
I think another thing you really need to factor is what is the threat level of your adversary, and I think that can measure the response. So the Dominion was, for all intents and purposes, just as equal or even more advanced than the Federation.
Oh, they were way more advanced. I mean, remember that first encounter they just flat out with 3 Jem'Hadar raiders, they took out a Galaxy class vessel. And I know that they basically rammed into their ship, but obviously the Odyssey was clearly outclassed with only 3 like light cruiser raiders. You know, they weren't even like big warships.
Right. And that's the thing is we're not talking about a small power. You know, it's not Starfleet or the Federation picking on the Maquis like they did, or anyone else that they were superior to. We're talking about a force that they really had not seen before in the Dominion. So it had to get that way, and I think it was to the point where they were at the point where as long as the number of lives saved was greater than the number of lives lost, then it needed to be done.
Like Julian and his calculations.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to perform an action that would kill 1 million civilian, military, etc., but that action would save 2 million lives, they're doing it. They had to do it. They had to take every ratio that would be a net plus of lives saved. They couldn't afford to keep second guessing everything that they did.
But according to Julian's calculations, the way to save the most lives would have been for the Federation was surrender. So why didn't they do that? Because they didn't want to.
Right.
You know,
they didn't want to lose.
Yeah, because they would lose, you know, but I'm still like, but still, but using your equation of whatever saves the most lives. I mean,
I also
obviously,
quickly add as well, but there was something I wanted to say regarding my Cisco Romulan thing as well. I
okay.
do believe in how the Romulans have been portrayed post DS9, because we never really got to see much of them, obviously, because of Voyager. So what we really got to see of them was in things like Picard and obviously Discovery as well, especially when they went into the future. And you could see that there was more there's more of a bond between Romulans and the Federation, so to speak, in those particular shows. And
Well,
I
yeah, they didn't
personally,
have a choice. They lost their planet.
yeah, well, I mean, well, you know, well, in Discovery they did, but you saw that there was something going on with Romulans and the Federation, so to speak, in Picard. We think with the Borg cube and all of that, and I do believe that probably possibly has stemmed from the alliance that they initially had to create. From Cisco coercing them into getting them involved in the war. So it might have all started from there.
I think it was a necessary evil, what Cisco had to do. And in his defense, he was, if I remember correctly, he was pretty much told by Starfleet, by top brass, by Admiralty, with an eye wink, do whatever you can to get the Romulans into the war. So, I mean, and he did it. If that's what it took, then that's what it took. It's a shame, but the Romulans were just being, kind of being dicks about the whole thing. They were going to sit back and pick at the leftovers.
Well, but I mean, that's their right. Like, I mean,
Sure.
like let's be
That's who
real.
they
Like
are.
that is the Romulans' right to sit back and I mean, even if after the senator died, they could have just been like, you know what, we'll let it pass. We're going to we're going to let this one slide, but we want to see what happens between the Dominion and the Federation Klingon alliance. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, So I don't know. I mean, I think let's roll reverse here with the Romulans. Let's say that so let's use a real life example, like we said before, Pearl Harbor. Let's say that Pearl Harbor was an inside job by let's say the Brits, because we got one here. So, the Pearl Harbor was an inside job by the Brits to get U.S. involved in World War II. We had no inkling I think we figured eventually we'd have to get involved in some way when they
Well, you were sending operatives. I mean, you weren't like fully involved, but it wasn't like you weren't prior to.
But we were
Pearl
not
Harbor.
but we were not
No.
fully involved. We had not declared.
FDR
Yeah.
egged them on. He egged the Japanese on into bombing Pearl Harbor. He wanted an excuse. So he fucked with their oil supply.
Okay, well, but still, let's.
You're right. The U.S. in the during the start of World War II was very much like how the Romulans were. And the U.S. is very much the same way now. We don't care unless we're directly affected people.
The tendency is isolationism.
No, I think the U.S. is more like unless money's involved, we don't get involved.
Yes, for the U.S., unless money is involved,
or oil, which leads to money,
resources, oil, resources. If that's not there, then forget about it. If we're not directly affected, forget about it. So, yes, during the war, the U.S. would have been just fine not getting involved with World War II. It was only until we were directly affected that we were engaged. So, I mean, I don't want to be the one to start a conspiracy theory of the Brits somehow influenced Japan to attack Pearl Harbor because they knew that the only way the U.S. was going to get into it
That's it. Let's start it. That's it.
No, I do not.
3-hour stream talking about why the Brits influenced Japan to attack Pearl Harbor. I love it.
More views than anything we ever did. Just something crazy.
It was just a European war prior to that. It became a world war, obviously, once the United States became fully involved. As well.
And Africa too. Africa was involved.
Yeah, they were. I mean,
and that's a case where. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, but it's funny because like people like the Persians, it's so bizarre because you would not think this would not be seen this now, but Hitler had a good relationship with the Persians, and he considered them to be Aryans, which is incredible because no fucking person today would think of a fucking Persian being an Aryan. And then obviously him and his white supremacy ideology still had relationships with the fucking Japanese, who were the furthest thing from being white. So it was so bizarre, like these strange bedfellows and all of this regarding that war. It was bizarre, some of the partnerships that were created.
Mm-hmm.
That reminds me of this. It was a meme or a comic or something I saw a long while back about World War II, and it was basically it's like Hitler saying, "Okay, this war is a wrap. As long as nobody does anything stupid, we're going to win. We've got it." Japan attacks America. You guys did what now? It was like, the surprise Pikachu face is, that was the stupidest thing you could have done, was instigate the US. So yeah, basically the stupidest thing you could have done was antagonize the Romulans to get in there to help.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much, as I said. I mean, with that, it's like, if the US would have stayed out of it long enough, there might have been even more irreparable harm done to the Allies. That, as I said, so like, let's say the Romulans did, the Senator ship blows up, it's the Dominion, the Romulans like, you know what, we're just gonna hang back here for a little while longer, we want to see what happens. That I really feel like, yeah, the Federation definitely would have folded, and the Klingons would have folded too. I mean, the Klingons would have fought to the last person. The Klingon Empire might not even exist at that point, because they would fight to the very last person. So what are you brought up a point earlier, and I wanted to talk a little bit about this, is about the bombing of Cardassia. So technically, let's I like doing these like real life comparisons here. So technically, Cardassia was a part of the Dominion. Isn't it their right to bomb Cardassia? Like it's their right. I didn't say it's right, but isn't it their right to like bomb Cardassia if they are, becoming a rebellion? It's kind of like the Federation and the Maquis. I know that the Federation and the Maquis were like, the Federation gave them many olive branches to stop antagonizing the Cardassians, stop antagonizing us. Let's try to work this out. And I mean, and they eventually got wiped out. But
the World War II comparisons were full on by then. Like obviously the Bajorans were like portraying, Holocaust Jews, and the Cardassians were definitely the fucking Nazis. But in this case, their planet getting bombed the shit was also like what happened with the Japanese. I think
you're going off of what I'm talking about. So at the end, at the very end, in the last episodes, the founders basically, when some of the Cardassians turned on the Dominion, basically the founders were like, you know what, just bomb this cesspool of a planet and just let so that. But that's what I'm saying is like, so let's compare it to like the Middle East nowadays. You know what I mean? Like, we say we went in because Saddam Hussein was committing genocide and doing all of these things, but here comes the U.S. rolling in saying, well, we got to liberate this place. Is it our right to come in and save the Cardassians, in Dominion space? Now, I know we were in the middle of an active war, so it's a little bit different.
It's a bit. Well, I mean, I don't want to get too involved in this, but you guys got attacked on 9/11, and then you felt like you had the right to retaliate. But it's a bit like me if I decided to blow up a building in America somewhere. Does that give America the right to attack the whole of the United Kingdom? Everybody responsible for my particular actions, and then unfortunately,
you're responsible for your own actions, man.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately, what with Afghanistan and Iraq, they became whatever those terrorist dickheads did, and they died. So
they came our Defense Department placebo is what they became.
Yeah, and then all of these things like weapons of mass destruction and stuff like that, which turned out to be nonsense. And then even now, there's people still in those countries, and no one has any idea what they're there for and what they're dying for right now. It's so bizarre. So without going on too much of a tangent, this is war, and then you like, because the Federation was initially affected, they almost felt justified to retaliate, but against who? Who do you fight against initially? You know, because if it's just a bunch of regular people doing a terrorist act, then do you go against the government? You know, like, oh, because those people are from a country which has that government. I mean, it's just so complicated. Yeah.
But I mean, that's kind of like where I'm looking at it with like the bombing of Cardassia is like, how is it our right to go in there and tell the only linchpin in this whole argument with that is the fact that we were already at war, you know. But I mean, technically, the state of Cardassia was under Dominion rule, you know, like. So
it's just
I'm not
it's
following
lovely
what you're-
irony.
huh?
I'm not quite following what you're saying in regards to what your beef is with the founders ordering the bombing of Cardassia.
As soon as they ordered the ceasefire, you know, with the Federation, I mean, we should have left. We shouldn't have. I mean,
Why did we stay on Cardassia? Tell them no more military for you, and
Yeah.
well, because they started it. The Cardassians are dangerous. The Cardassians are the reason that the war happened. They are the ones that opened up the avenue for the Dominion to come in and help them clean up the Maquis. If not for, and I know it's, you can do like, he started it, then he retaliated because he started it, and he retaliated because you retaliated. But the thing is that was something tangible, something you could put your finger on and say, because of Cardassia, this war happened and the Alpha Quadrant was almost lost. So to be able to find something to pin it on as to whose fault was it, you could say it was the Cardassians, and nobody would really be able to argue with you on that. And because of that, yes, the Allies were justified in saying, okay, now we're here, we're going to keep it this way. We're in Berlin, and now we're staying. You know, because you people started this, and it cost millions of lives. Again, I think it's another.
I disagree.
Can you just remind me, because is that why Cardassia was bombed, because it was now infiltrated by Starfleet?
No, they were revolting. It was the oppressors becoming oppressed, and they rose up against it, and then they got bombed.
Yeah, because the founders started treating the Cardassians like shit, and the Cardassians got tired of it, and so they started.
Yeah, I think I remember
revolting. There were factions.
Kira was helping them.
But here's the other thing. Like, okay, so let's turn that argument on its head. What you were saying about, you know, the Cardassians invited the Dominion in. Why can't they? What I mean, the Federation.
Not saying they couldn't.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Federation. You know, will and yes, we know the Federation is good.
It's because they did.
But no, I mean, like, why can't the Cardassians invite the Dominion in? Why can't the Cardassians become a part of the Dominion?
They could.
And then if it's Dominion territory, why are we not allowing the Dominion ships in their own territory?
Well, it's the same thing as going in and stopping somebody bombing their own people. You're stopping, you know, genocide inside. You're stopping a war crime from happening.
No, I meant like in general, like after the Cardassians joined the Dominion, and then the Dominion started bringing forces and building like shipyards and stuff like that in Cardassian territory. Like, let's say because the thing is that the wormhole aliens stopped the Dominion forces from coming through. The Federation technically didn't do that. So we can't pin that on the Federation. Like, it's not like they like collapsed the wormhole. Like the wormhole aliens were the ones who stopped reinforcements from coming through. Okay. You know, like the mining of the wormhole, I don't think that's right. That's almost like if let's say the Voyager was on its way home and they mined like the border, or they mined a wormhole that Voyager was going to come through.
Whoops.
Just so they could get home.
I,
It's
I
not.
mean,
It,
all I can say is that I get what you're saying. The Cardassians could do whatever the hell they wanted, and there were also consequences for that. And with the ceasefire, with the surrender of the Dominion for the war, I mean, they were basically kicked out of the Alpha Quadrant. They had to go home. And yes, the Allies occupied Cardassia. The same reason why after World War II that we occupied half Germany and half of Berlin. For the same reason, because at the time you had now had Germany as the main antagonist of two world wars. I don't know how safely you could say that they could have won the first one, but we know that there was certainly a chance they had of winning the second one. So when you have a military, when you have a power that has caused something like that to happen, you're going to occupy. You're going to occupy. You're not going to leave it to their own devices to do the same thing again. That is why. What's that?
I said you tried economic sanctions after the First World War, and that didn't do the trick. It just
that led to the Second World War.
Exactly.
Yes, it did.
And then after that second time, we stayed put. The Allies stayed put, and that's the same thing that the Alpha Quadrant Alliance did with Cardassia. Totally called for, totally justified. In my opinion,
once Cardassia surrendered, I see that. But as I said, because I mean, at that point, the Cardassians had probably left the Dominion. But as I said, I really don't. Let's say that.
Well, I'm sure their time with the Dominion was over once they got their planet started getting bombarded.
Well, that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
But what I was trying to flip it on its head was basically saying, why can the Federation come into these worlds and make a peace treaty and set up all these Federation things? But let's say that a world in the middle of the Romulan Star Empire, wants to join the Federation, and they do. Like, let's say there's a race in the Romulan Star Empire it's in this Romulan Star Empire, and then they decide, you know what, we're going to join the Federation, and it's kind of like smack dab right in the middle. Are we not allowed to send Federation ships over to that planet that has joined the Federation? The Romulans won't want that. The Romulans won't want us traveling through their space to get to that planet.
They would probably try to argue against the inclusion of that planet into the Federation to begin with. They would argue against that power's right to secede from the Star Empire, probably.
No, let's just say it's not a part of the Star Empire. Let's just say that it is a planet.
It's just in the heart of the territory?
It's just, yeah.
Okay.
It probably would have been subjugated. I'm just using the Romulans as an example. But, let's say, it's hard to, as I said, it's like it's a major power. Let's say Texas secedes from the United States and it wants to join the UK. Should we?
Yes, let them go. Yes,
yeah,
please.
The answer to that question is yes.
My God.
Please take them.
But let's
No fight.
But should we actually no? Let's do. Okay, let's say Texas secedes from the United States and wants to join Russia. Okay,
Goodbye.
that
Have
is
fun.
it. No, but look how close.
That's terrible.
That would be bad. Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying is like, okay, we don't like it, but let's say that Texas secedes legally, and let's say Mexico joins the Russians.
It's a Russian province, right, bordering the United States.
Exactly,
Oh
but
God,
that's what I'm saying is like, I feel like that. I feel like the reason why the Federation did a lot of this stuff and started declaring this war was because they were uncomfortable with how close the Dominion was. They were okay if they stayed in the Gamma Quadrant because they could control them. But while they were actively in Cardassian territory, which was technically Dominion territory, they were too close for comfort. It didn't matter. Like, because technically, the first shots and everything, like, yes, the first shots fired were in the Gamma Quadrant between the Odyssey and the Runabouts and the Dominion. you know. But and then the Dominion basically pushed the Federation and Bajorans back through the wormhole because they took out all of the new colonies over there and the star bases and the relay points out there. But still, it was Dominion territory. They had every right to push back. And actually, they had every right. They should have been nicer about it and said, well, you guys need, you know, they should have just said, look, you need to leave, you know, like, but, you know, the Dominion was just like, no, this is our territory. It, you know, that's what I'm saying. It's like,
remember, they actually took back DS9 at one point, I believe.
Yes, they did. And that technically was not a Starfleet outpost. That was
exactly. It wasn't as well.
It was a Bajoran outpost, and that's why Sisko had the Bajoran sign the non-aggression pact with the Dominion, so that they could still be safe. And you know what? I have a perfect example. I can't believe I didn't think of this. The perfect example's already happened. The Cuban Missile Crisis.
Well, I thought, that's the analogy.
Yeah, I was about to say that I can't believe I didn't not realize it, but I didn't think of it. Like that is exactly what happened here. Is the Cardassians were Cuba, and then they joined they joined the Dominion, and then all of a sudden they were way too close to the U.S. for comfort. So that's what Starfleet was like. They're way too close. So I don't feel like that's right though, because
those commies being too close to our land. Yeah.
No, I mean.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's everything was cool until Cuba became an ally of Russia because Cuba is too close to the U.S. and it's just you get antsy, and that's just Here's one thing to look at. You're talking about worlds or territories that want to join another power when they are in
a sphere of influence.
Yes, a sphere of influence. Berlin was in the East Germany portion of Germany.
Mm-hmm.
How did that work? Berlin was basically under the sphere of territory owned by Russia. However,
it was communism. Yeah,
we had half of Berlin, so there had to something had to work. There had to be some, there was a road that was like this is just the I don't know. I wish we had a historian somewhere around here, but that's
they had checkpoints. You do have a historian, actually. I am.
Okay, let's hear it.
There was a that's not my area of expertise, but I'm pretty sure there were checkpoints.
But this isn't about like the Federation and the Dominion half occupying Cardassian space. As I said, I mean, you're more talking about the U.S. is building a wall, around, building a wall around like all of Germany and saying, Russia, you can't, well, no, that doesn't even work either.
No, but was there a Star Trek version of the Berlin Wall as well?
The neutral zone
space.
Yeah, the neutral zone.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, one part Berlin Wall and one part demilitarized zone.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, literally was it the demilitarized?
No, I mean the demilitarized zone between the Koreas.
The demilitarized zone was less of a wall, more of a military.
It's a zone of space. Yeah. It's just an area of space between two parallels.
Yeah, but it wasn't. I mean, if the demilitarized zone was like a minefield, I think it would work better. But
here's a question for you. Okay, let's just say that the Federation Alliance did what you're proposing they should have done, is just left Cardassia. So who's Cardassia going to look for next to help them, to get them out of a rut, to provide military and economic assistance? Could you trust the Cardassians to not forge an alliance with another Federation adversary just because they were left needing help? It's better to occupy.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. If the Cardassians asked for help, then sure. I mean, once they seceded from the Dominion, then and then they're like, we're asking for aid. Then I guess yes, because the Cardassians are not a.
Well, how do we know they didn't? How do we know
I
that
don't
they
think that
didn't?
they were officially seceded. I think that there were still Cardassians that were, there were still Cardassians that were loyal to the Dominion at that point. And they even brought in, like, when Damar was kicked out, like they still brought in more Cardassians. And I know towards the very, very end, they were just like, get this guy out of here, whatever.
I just think that
after the Cardassians started rebelling against the Dominion.
To be perfectly honest with you, I will say that I'm a pretty firm believer in saying that the Alliance was well within their right to do whatever the fuck they wanted. Tell Cardassia to shut the hell up. This is just how it's going to go.
Okay.
We're staying. We're occupying. You're not fielding military anymore. You're done.
How very U.S. of us.
Sorry. Yeah. But, yes, that is.
Get treated like Japan at the end of the war.
Yeah. It's exactly what happened.
I'm not saying it's the wrong. I'm not saying it's the wrong thing to do. I'm just saying, like, it is one of those things where it's just like, where do you, not where do you draw the line, but where do you, how do I say
Well,
this?
if you don't neutralize your enemy, then you have situations like Picard season 3, where remnants come back to maybe finish off what they couldn't finish off in DS9. And you saw the terrorism that happened, because Picard season 3 is quite significant actually, because they destroyed that in episode 1 they destroyed that area, that location, that Starfleet,
the recruitment center.
Exactly.
Center. Exactly.
The founders had enough beef with the Federation that they allied with the Borg, who also had beef with the Federation. So,
of course, yeah.
So then we should have. So then we should have just wiped out all of the we should have just wiped out all of the Dominion and founders. I mean,
well,
but where do you stop? Like,
you have to bring them on side, because if you don't, then you have terrorist cells like the ones we saw in Picard season 3, because that's what they end up being, like rogue freedom fighters in their mind, but they really are for the Federation. They are terrorist cells because of what they did.
Yeah,
you have to bring them on side.
But there will always be people, and honestly, those founders were justified. Maybe not being terrorists, but they were justified in being pissed off at what the Federation did to them, especially Section 31. Did they have a right to go around and like killing people and everything like that? No, but they had a right to be mad. They had a right to justice. And you know what I mean? Like,
but unfortunately, this is what they end up doing, though, because there's no other way of. Well, I don't want to say there's no other way, but in their minds, how do you retaliate? And this is how they do it, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, the Dominion War was messy. I mean, I'm glad in Picard season 3 that they actually addressed the fact that not everything was kumbaya after the Dominion War, because there was a lot of bad blood there, and there was a lot of messed up shit that happened in the Dominion War. And I agree. It's muddy and it's not clean, and I don't think anyone was right. I don't think anyone was wrong for wanting to survive. I mean, if you want to argue the minutia points, but as I said, in my opinion, I feel like the one place where we went wrong is where we said that no, Dominion, you can't come into the Alpha Quadrant and go to your territory, even though you signed an alliance with the Cardassians. I get it. We were scared with all those with the Dominion in Cardassian space, but that doesn't give us the right to just mine off the wormhole and say, no, you can't come here. That's not our call. Cardassian space was Dominion space at that point.
Well,
it's not like the Dominion invaded Cardassia and took it and then set up shop. They were invited in.
But here's the problem. The problem was, again, that the Dominion presence, they did something that tangentially affected Starfleet and affected the Federation to get them invested in this conflict, and that is that the Jim Hadar wiped out the Maquis, who were member colonies of Starfleet. You had former Starfleet officers, people that were part of your. So it's like they indirectly were the aggressors towards not only the Klingons, but former Starfleet and Federation colonists. So in a way, you see that, okay, well, we need to do something because they did just kind of affect our people.
Okay. I just wanted Joshua Irwin jumping in here. He says the wormhole was Bajoran territory. You are correct. It was within the Bajoran system. They could mine it if they wanted. The Bajorans could mine it, but that doesn't mean the Federation can mine it. And I mean, here's the thing: is that when the Dominion came, because the Bajoran signed a non-aggression pact with the Dominion, so technically, I mean, it again, yes, it's Bajoran territory, but why would you mine a transport route for a people that you have a non-aggression pact with? Why? Like if anything else, the Federation should have shut down the mines once they left. I mean,
It
that's
was messy.
It's very messy, but at the same time, if you're going to look at the legalities of it all, the Federation left. The Bajorans welcomed the Dominion in with their non-aggression pact. Well, okay, but we're talking. Okay, so Joshua Erlin says the Federation probably had Bajorans' unofficial permission, but that's not. You can't have unofficial.
Plausible deniability. We didn't know that they left mines, and we don't know how to turn them off.
I could see Kira saying that. Like I could really say. I mean,
well, yeah, because that would have been the first. That would have been the first thing. Was all right. Hey, you guys mind turning those mines off? We don't know how to do that.
I mean,
and suddenly you have.
Did they know that Rom set them up? Because Rom pretty much designed those. I think between Rom and Miles and the engineering teams.
I believe they eventually found out, but yeah, there was
Rom still on the station? No, he went back to work for Quark. That's right. He went back to work for Quark.
Yeah. It was, it was a train wreck. It was just an ugly train wreck. It is, you try to make the best you can while you're already snowballing down the hill.
And yeah, Josh is basically agreeing with your point. And Josh also says they secretly still wanted them there. And that's true. But at the same time, and that's the thing. And then Quad BC, I don't know if this is on NerdTube or No Budget, but hello, Quad BC. Welcome to the stream, wherever you're watching from. But that's and I just want to kind of circle back to the beginning because I know we're going to wrap it up here, but that is the beauty of the Dominion War, is that it's so messy. I'm sorry, like it's not messy writing in my opinion. Like I don't think it's messy writing. I think it's messy because it is just so like it's an allegory of the Cold War and then full on World War. And then, so that's what I love about the Dominion War, is that it is super messy. Quad BC says from YouTube, but yes, we are actually streaming on 3 different YouTube channels. We are streaming on No Budget Productions. We're also streaming on Beyond Trek Podcast, which is our friend down here, Jefferson's channel. So if you have not subscribed to him, please do. The link is in the description. And also on NerdTube. I don't know if the link's actually in the description if you're on one of the other channels, but come to NerdTube. You should subscribe to all 3 channels because all 3 channels have fantastic Star Trek content. So with all that being said, guys, let's do final thoughts and let's wrap it up here. So Zam, you go ahead and start off with final thoughts or anything you want to add.
No, not me. Because I feel like I'm out of my depth. I need to hear somebody else's final thoughts to get an idea of what my final thoughts will be.
Jefferson, let's start with you. We'll go the opposite way.
I think Cisco was right. No regrets there. He did what he needed to do, and he did it. I think that. Oh shoot! What was? Yeah, I totally lost the second part, but I think what was done. Oh, I'm sorry. Cisco was right in what he had to do, and so was Section 31. This was war. It was ugly. It was us versus them. It was desperate. It was that desperate, and even after the Federation did what they did, they were going to lose the war, just flat out.
And this is why this show is one of my favorite shows.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Major Rage, jump on in, bud.
Cisco was wrong, but for the right reasons. War
That's
is a
all.
messy thing. There is no right or wrong answer, really. They're in the fight for survival, like they faced. There was no right course of action other than to survive. But that being said, Section 31's it's beyond the pale, but I get why they did it. I'm just glad I don't have to make those kinds of decisions. I don't have the fortitude for normal life decisions, much less something like that.
I would like to come in from a different perspective because Discovery Season 1 had their own war scene going on between the Federation and the Klingons. And it was resolved very quickly with I think with the birth of a baby. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, the war's over. And I thought that was really, really stupid. And then that's why that particular show didn't start off too well in a lot of people's eyes. But the way DS9 portrayed an intergalactic war and used obviously historical events to flesh it out and give people a better understanding of it was excellently portrayed with so many different factions, It was, and it was a work of genius what they created. I wish I could remember most of it. Unfortunately, some of it does go by the wayside because I have watched every episode of DS9, but at the time when I was watching it, I never caught up with every episode because I was having to watch it on a weekly basis. Regardless, I'm not fussed about who was right or who was wrong. I just want to appreciate the art that was given to us and how it was portrayed and made it very thought provoking. And hats off to the writers and directors, creators and actors for giving us probably the best space war opera ever in that particular with that particular genre. Better than anything really, because it was so diverse and so in depth with so many characters. It was basically Game of Thrones in space before Game of Thrones actually happened.
Actually, Game of Thrones is DS9 on land, on Earth.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Well said.
Mhm.
Well said.
That's right. I'm gonna get a shirt that says that. I'm gonna Game of Thrones is DS9 on space.
It was
On
really
land.
On land.
it was. I mean, I was a lot younger at the time, and maybe I wouldn't be able to appreciate
A
it.
lot
But
less sex and death, though,
it was beautifully complex,
and
you know,
incest.
and
That's in the hollow sheds. It's off screen.
it was beautifully complex in the way war, unfortunately, is not beautiful, but definitely complex, as it should be.
And also, thank you, Quad BC. Thank you so much for the sub. Make sure you get NerdTube and Beyond Trek podcast. As I said, we all kind of do our own thing, but we also all come together for Trek 2, which is awesome. So anyway, I think that kind of wraps it up. It's a fantastic.
What's your thoughts?
I already kind of. Well, I mean, I said I think it is a wonderful disaster to watch. But that's the point. And I think it was very well executed, especially in a time when well executed serialization was not a thing. You know what I mean? Like, yes, did they have some hiccups in the road? But I think for the most part, they Stephen Ira Bear, like had, or Ira Stephen Bear. I always
Ira
get it
Stephen
wrong.
Bear.
Yeah, I always get it wrong. Ira Stephen Bear. I think he had a clear-cut vision for like the entire series, like the Dominion War. Like once he got through the first 2 seasons or something, I think he had a very clear vision on what he wanted for the show, and he did it. He pulled it off. You know, I mean, it was very apparent in the writing that he did early on in the show, and later on in the show, that a lot of the stuff he had figured out and he wanted to do. So I really like, that's why the Dominion War is one of my favorite things. I know that the Dominion War would have never happened under Gene Roddenberry's watch, but at the same time, like, as I said,
Off screen.
Yeah, off screen, like the Romulan War, like they just would have been talking about it 20 years later, like.
Well, serialized Star Trek, and back then Star Trek was episodic. So to make it serialized, which is why certain things always get muddled for me, because with TNG, with the TOS, you could afford to miss episodes. It was actually not
Actually, towards the end of TNG, there were a lot of carryover like even the like they talked more about the Cardassian border wars and stuff like that.
I agree, but with DS9 it was full on serialized. In the latter season, so you couldn't afford to miss an episode.
Whether people were right or wrong, I mean, it was, as I said, it was a wonderful conundrum that they had to unfold, and it created tons of drama and great writing, in my opinion. And you had a banger cast, in my opinion. DS9's got like one of the best casts ever, in my opinion, Star Trek wise. Like they may not be like the ones you first think of when you come to Star Trek cruise, but they knocked it out of the park when it came to just giving us the best performances ever when it came to this stuff.
The best ensemble for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Anyway, all right. So I think next week what we're going to be talking about is what we want for season 5 of Star Trek Discovery, and maybe just some general conversation about maybe some stuff. Who knows? But I think season 5 of Discovery is going to be kind of the topic. Discovery season 5 will be premiering the following week on that Thursday, and we will start up our reviews. So far, the Highly Illogical podcast will be on hold for our Trek reviews, unless we figure out something else to do. But if you're on our community tab on YouTube, we will keep you guys in the loop on what's going on there. But yeah, so with that all being said, everybody, thank you very much for joining us. Jefferson, sorry. Where can everybody find you at?
Can't believe you forgot my name.
No, I was crossed. Like I was going to say Jefferson, then I was going to say Big J, and then it just almost went out together, and I stopped myself.
No problem. So visit starfleetpodcast.net/Beyond Trek to find Beyond Trek Podcast. You'll see all of our social media links there.
Okay. Mirror Mage, where can everybody find you?
If you are into RPG gaming, I have a gaming channel, Major Rage TV, and the same name over at Twitch. I'm currently playing Lunar Silver Star Story Complete.
Nice. And Zam, where can everybody find you?
With you, baby, side by side.
That's right. And tomorrow night, Zam is usually involved in our World's Gone Insane podcast, where a lot of our other contributors here on the channel go into politics and gaming and media, movies, TV, just anything and everything. And so that is a very fun podcast to watch if you're into that kind of stuff.
If I could just add that we also have a TikTok channel by the same name, also known as NerdTube, as well as a Twitch channel. And just this last week, we've had a variety of reviews and podcasts that you need to check out, reactions of various things, with it Trek related, non-Trek related. It's all there. Yeah, exactly. Food, wrestling, Star Wars, it's all there these last 7 days. There's something out there.
There's something usually every day on our channel. There's usually something
even today.
Every day.
I did a 1 minute short for YouTube short on Halo Season 2. And trust me, to squeeze as much in 1 minute was very difficult, but I managed to do what I could. So check it out. Yeah,
we know if you're good at anything, you're squeezing in tight spaces, man.
Yeah.
Hey, he kicked my ass in 1 minute increments at Debatamania 1.
That's true. But he was a worthy adversary, so I wouldn't say I kicked your ass.
That was epic.
It was a good match.
Yeah.
And Debatamania is the thing coming up. I just keep an eye on the channel for more on that. We'll be pushing that soon. And with that all being said, everybody, thank you very much for joining us here. The links should be down below in the descriptions for these guys' stuff. And we'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great week. Live long and prosper.
See ya.